Well, the way that Ticketmaster works out, no matter how swift you are, you're probably not going to get tickets to see Taylor. This is Bog Panda. Hi, everybody. This is Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment, go watch a couple other videos, get that watch time up. We need that for things, something about algorithms. Go like those videos, comment on them. If you've already commented on a video, comment on it again. There's no comment limit. That's the best part about comments.
First five are free. So it's been interesting that some developments in the world of, and these aren't really recent developments, these have been around for a
No.
while, but the whole Ticketmaster thing, apparently the way to get action is to get Taylor Swift involved. and, and now it's serious when it's Taylor Swift tickets.
You mess with Taylor Swift fans, you've brought down the wrath of God on you.
Yeah, apparently. And so for those of you maybe not familiar with the issue, what's kind of turning out is that there are some pretty well-designed bots out there and other approaches that allow ticket resellers to gut an offering of tickets, and then within moments, even if you've been patiently waiting, and I have on more than one occasion been there right at one of the it's usually for Alice tickets, waiting for a chance to kind of jump in and get good seats. Um, Sometimes that doesn't matter, and then I think in this Taylor Swift case, there were even kind of, I don't know if they were necessarily VIP groups or something, but there were folks that were supposed to like, hey, you're going to get even earlier access to some of this stuff, and they were a washout as well. And so there's an angered Taylor Swift fan, bad enough. An angered VIP Taylor Swift fan, big trouble. Um, so so the government's in play. Thank goodness. This is
Government stepped in. They're like, we're
it's
not
like
going to let you Swift fans down.
that's right. This will not stand. So they've diverted all the Ukrainian funding at this point to, to
Which
target.
I'm sure the people in Ukraine understand.
Yes, yes. Oh, it's Taylor Swift. Oh, okay.
They're
So
like, a hospital has been blown up, a children's hospital. There are bits and pieces of formerly suffering children scattered around this countryside. And we're just like, Taylor Swift tickets are going for $20,000. They're like, go where you're needed.
that's right. We'll be fine. We'll work this out. You have bigger fish to fry. So, this, I mean, while we make a little light of the fact, and I never particularly welcome government intervention, period, but I do think this situation needs to be addressed because it's really not fair, and it's strictly someone who I mean, they're clever, they figure out a way to do it, but they add no value in the process. All they do is they create a scarcity to turn around and change the market and charge more. And so there's like no value add that they're providing. The only hard work they put in is figuring a way to scoop these away from everybody else so that they can extort high amounts of money out of
Well,
folks.
so what's specifically happening with Taylor Swift, and this has been happening, as Kelly said. So to supposedly to combat that is Ticketmaster has implemented a dynamic pricing system. Again, this is not new. Artists have been able to opt into this for a while. And essentially it works the same way airline tickets do. The most expensive seat on an airline, on any kind of flight, is the last seat that's available because they can charge whatever they want for it if there's a wait for that ticket, because that's your only option if you want to get on that flight. So that $30 ticket is $500 if that's what they want to charge for it, if you're willing to pay it. So they gave artists an option to opt into a similar type of thing for tickets. So that's what happened to the Taylor Swift thing. So it's the thing. The thing is, there's apparently no cap on it as far as how high it can go. So this isn't the bots and resellers. This is Ticketmaster charging these prices with the approval of Taylor Swift. So in order to stop the bots from doing it and help the fans, is their methodology. Now, this had come under fire about a month or so ago. This has been going on for a while, but it hasn't really wildfire out of control like this previously. It started about a month ago though with Blink 182. So Blink 182 reunited their classic lineup. I'm not a Blink 182 guy, nothing against them. It's just not my thing. But their tickets, they opted into this dynamic pricing, and their tickets were, I'm going to say face value were like $60 or $80 or something like that. But if you went on to purchase tickets, they were suddenly 300, 400, some places even as high as $500 and $600 for these $50 tickets. And they didn't say this, but essentially their fans were blaming Ticketmaster for this, with fans not really understanding the artists have to opt into this. Not this isn't happening across the board. It's only particular shows that this is happening for. So when it really went insane was Taylor Swift. So I didn't know this, not being a Taylor Swift fan. Taylor Swift has apparently not toured in quite a while. I wouldn't know that because I had no interest in seeing her, and not just because of the pandemic. She had stopped touring prior to that. I do know she was involved in a lot of legal disputes with former people that she was working with, so I assume that that's why it hadn't been happening. And now that she's through that, she's going on tour. So there was an unusually high demand for these tickets. So where the Blink 182 thing for their fans, there was a higher than usual demand. This created a weird demand that Ticketmaster hasn't run into since they started this, or at least with any artist who specifically opted into this. So they're, again, saving you money by stopping scalpers from buying these tickets. Apparently, there's absolutely no cap on this. So it can just go as high as there are people trying to get in there. So even people who were promised tickets, like VIP people, at a particular cost, were they were the first ones getting access, and the tickets were already up in the $1,000 range when they were getting on their tickets that were supposed to be $100 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's a so we're solution guys.
Yeah,
So you know
we fix the world.
that's right. So how are we gonna fix this, Mike?
Well, there's one obvious solution, which is, don't do that.
That's,
I,
that's a good solution.
yeah, don't do that, because the problem is, well, for one thing, there's no cap on there. So an obvious thing they're going to have to do, just to satiate the fans who are just going to stop buying tickets at a certain point, not to mention the fact that the government has stepped in, they're going to have to put some sort of cap on it, so that it does, you're not going on and seeing a $20,000 Taylor Swift ticket on a Ticketmaster website and things like that. So they'll have to put some sort of limits on it, of course. There also has to be more uniformity to it if you're going to do that, because that was another part of it. There are some areas, some countries, and some territories and things that don't allow dynamic pricing. They have specific regulations with that. So depending on where you lived, a Taylor Swift ticket might just be $100 if you're going to see her. If you lived the next state over, the Taylor Swift ticket was $8,000 because they allow dynamic pricing. So I think the non-uniformity of it is another thing that's causing an issue. So I think there needs to be some sort of a cap on it. There needs to be some sort of uniform system. Or again, don't do it. And while I hate to sound like I'm defending the big corporation that charges, $20 convenience fees for just you buying a ticket from them and things like that. So while I hate to sound like I'm defending them, the artists are choosing to do this. And I do think that's lost on a lot of people. They're choosing to do this. So Taylor Swift could have been like, no, the tickets are $100, but she chose to allow them to go to these kind of prices because she gets paid more for it. So
Yeah, so I hear you, and I
I'm
think
big
that
on, free market economy though. So
that's a
she can
fair.
choose to do that, but then her fans should hold her accountable for that.
Yeah. But so let's say, um, you're a company that breeds piranhas, and
I
and
love this analogy already.
let's so you're gonna breed piranhas, and you offer them to say, hey, there's a pool here. Your two products are piranhas and chlorine. Okay, so this is your very unique business process. So the chlorine and piranhas. This is the two things you've got, and you come in and you say, hey, artist who owns a pool, you've got a choice here. You can choose to put chlorine in your pool so everybody's safe and happy and whatever, or you can put piranhas in there as well. And the artist chooses to use the piranha. I would agree that that was a bad choice by the artist, and there should be consequences, or they should be held accountable for making the decision to put piranhas in the tank. But if you happen to be the person readily providing them a method that they can put piranhas in their pool, I don't think you're without sin either. And so,
Oh yeah, no, I'm not letting Ticketmaster off the hook here, but I do think the artists have to have some sort of accountability here, though, too. We can't just go Ticketmaster's evil. They are, but
they are, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But again, Taylor Swift was told like, "Hey, you'll make more money if we drive these ticket prices up," and she was like, "Cool."
That sounds awesome to me.
Yeah. So, which again,
Yeah, I
I
think
get,
enough
but
blame to go around, but yeah,
yeah,
I think we need same day ticket sales. They need to be paper tickets, and you need to have an ID to get a ticket. I think that's what needs to happen. No, we've got to. I just think this whole process, and again, I hate to have the federal government involved to do this. It would just
yeah,
seem ultimately. But the problem is as consumers, people will pay. They may not pay $20,000 for a ticket, but they'll shell out $1,000 or $2,000 to see certain bands, certain groups. Taylor Swift, I guess, is a good example of that. And so, back to your free market point, this is a market that will bear ridiculous price increases. So I just, that makes it tricky. That's if your market won't behave well, because it does. I think it has to get to a pretty high level before people say, "I'm out. I'm not gonna do that." So it's tough to say, but yeah, I do think some limits on that would be good. I do think, while not directly here in this case, but the ability for people to take blocks of tickets, kind of out of commission to then do a resale on them for profit is a component too. And I think steps need to be taken to continue to make that more difficult, for someone to buy large batches of tickets in pretty significant order, just to kind of give everybody at least a fair shot at some of these things, to a degree. But it's an interesting process. But I do think the limits is a good idea, but I think transparency too. I think your point's great that this is not Ticketmaster did not alone decide that this was their fate.
right. Yeah,
There
this
is an
wasn't something
accomplice,
Ticketmaster did without the artist input.
right? Yeah, and
And
that
as I'm not knocking them for it, I believe in capitalism. I really do. So I believe in the free market economy. I believe our only true democracy is voting with your dollar. So I fully support to a degree this idea behind this. And I support artists who do things like VIP packages with meet and greets and things like that and charging more for those. I think that's fine. I have no problem with any of that as long as people are willing to pay for it.
yep.
The problem is I feel like a lot of blame is being deflected on the Ticketmaster, rightfully so. But the artist did opt into this. So some blame needs to go their way as well.
Well, they're the chlorine and piranha salespeople, so they do have a thing. And yeah, and I do think we will have our first official sponsor soon, Dr. Mike's Chlorine and Piranhas. We're looking forward to the big, and they're all about capitalism, so that it's going to be a big bump for the panda here, so it'll be a good deal.
And again, I think the important thing for the fans who are upset, while I understand it, I think the important thing is if you're upset by it, don't buy a Taylor Swift ticket. Like that's the answer to that. Because if people aren't buying them, the ticket prices drop back down. So don't buy it.
Which
That's
is, it's actually good advice on multiple levels. But
yeah.
here we're just talking about prices. So.
Yeah, we're talking about the prices. Maybe just don't buy a Taylor Swift ticket though. But in general, don't buy it. Don't be a part of that system.
I hear Hanson not only does the increased price thing, but then they also like put a lien on your house. It's a kind of a weird setup, but you
You
actually kind
become
of
power of attorney for your bank accounts.
yeah. They're required now to be named in your will. So it's so be really careful on those Hanson tickets, folks, because
You have to sign an NDA just to log into the Ticketmaster site.
Bog Panda.